English teachers पढ़ाए तो simple लगे everything. Leaderboards and quizzes से
Amazing.
learning हो जाए happening. समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा.
Vedantu. Learn live online. To attend a free live class, download the app now.
Hello my dear students, this is Sundar Sir here. How is everyone? Before I start wishing every one of you an amazing, happy and prosperous New Year 2020. Hope you guys had an awesome New Year Eve. Okay, right guys, now let us get into the session now. As you all know, in the last session of Know Your Dates, the Age of Industrialization Part 1, we dealt with how industry started evolving, how England was the heart of industrialization. All right, it was more towards Europe, England, how trade evolved there, and you also found that how logistics were managed, what kind of influence that the invention of steam engine brought into industrialization. We dealt with so many. Our focus was not much towards Asia, especially India. But now, in today's session, we are going to move more towards Indian industry. I'm sure you're very curious to know how was India doing before industrialization, and as a result of industrialization, did something good happen, or was there something which was not to our favor? Curious to understand? Let's get into the session. Right, so today we are starting Know Your Dates, the Age of Industrialization Part 2. So we will start with the Age of Indian Textiles. Alright, so now the Age of Indian Textiles. Now my dear students, India, you wouldn't believe, was doing extremely good in one segment, which is the textile segment, even before all the industries evolved. Even after those industries evolved also, India was doing pretty good till kind of 1750. The East India Company, they came in, right? They came in for trade initially. So until even during that time, India was doing fairly fine. Silk and cotton, we were the best. Our weavers were the best, and other countries came into India, bought our textiles and moved to places like Afghanistan. All right, started selling our goods. Persia was one among them. So we were doing extremely well, especially in the textile segment. What happened then? Let's find out. So today we will deal with the Age of Indian Textiles, which I just started. You will also understand, what happened to the weavers as a result of industrialization. And Manchester comes to India. So what was the influence of East India Trade Company in India once, especially after they attained that political power? As a trade company, it was cool, but once they started attaining the political power, what happened? Then factories into India, factories come up. What happened? What kind of factories came in? The early entrepreneurs, who were they? Who were the early entrepreneurs in India, and what was their contribution? We will also deal with, for all this, where did the workers come from and what happened to them, right? So it's you would find that, a lot of stories behind the scene will will come out during this. You will also understand how, these people from the European countries, especially the East India Trade Company, how, they conspired to get India into the trap. Our workers into the trap. You will understand more. Okay, to start with, so as I was telling, India was doing fairly good and it was known for the textiles. Silk and cotton, people from Armenia and Persia, they came to India, bought our goods from Punjab, all right, Afghanistan, Eastern Persia and Central Asia. Okay, so they sold our goods in all these countries. Bales of fine textiles were manually carried on the camel's hump, and it was taken to different countries across deserts and sold. So India was known for textiles. Now, what was happening? Indian merchants were doing pretty good. They were very close to the weavers in the textiles. You have to note this. Our Indian merchants, they were very close to the weavers, and many of them stayed close to them. So that, there is not much problem of logistics and all. They stayed close to them, helped them out. Workers, weavers were happy. Merchants were also getting good money. Okay, and merchants, of course, naturally they were financing production. They were taking the goods and they were also supplying the exporters, giving it to the exporters, whatever goods they got. Now, to ensure that trade across countries happened, they had linked the inland regions to the ports. Surat and Hooghly were two prominent ports at that point in time. Okay, but it didn't facilitate multiple sea routes. Let's see what happened as a result of that. Yeah. Okay. So in 1715, yeah, before that itself, East India Company have come in. They started doing trade, but still our people had the grip. Our people had the grip. They were dictating terms until East India Company gained political power. Right? The moment they got the political power in 1750, slowly they beautifully conspired. First thing what they did, legally they got all the policies in their favor, right, for trade. They said, the trade will be a monopoly. We will dictate the terms, how trade has to happen. Still the Indian merchants will pay money, that is they will provide the finance, but we will take the decisions. How is that? Will we agree? But we had to. That's how it happened. So the European companies, they started gaining power. They got a lot of concessions legally through courts. Okay, and created policies for a monopoly. Monopoly is one person dictating everything, right? So this really troubled the Indian rulers and merchants and even weavers. And you know what? As a result, they changed the ports. The port of Bombay, Calcutta, and Chennai, that is Madras, that was created by the East India Company. These people. These ports replaced the older ones, which is Surat and Hooghly. Right? So Surat and Hooghly became kind of obsolete ports, which were not used after that. So as you can see, this is how it happened. The star marks, Bombay, Madras and Calcutta, they became prominent ports connecting all their sea routes wherever they wanted to do trade, especially in their own countries. So as a result of it, what happened to the weavers? Once monopoly came into picture, monopoly for trade, you wouldn't believe weavers were really in trouble. Many of them have to just get out of that industry at all. They started doing agriculture instead of trade, instead of weaving. So 1760s, 1770s, the British became very strong, right? However, even at that point in time, before the British came in, there were the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese who were competing in the Indian market. Weavers got good money because there was competition. People were ready to pay higher and higher. The best buyer was given the goods. So weavers, merchants got enough money. But once the monopoly part came into picture, okay, now they said none of the other countries apart from them can do it. Apart from British can get those goods. It was really troubling for them. Put yourself in those places. As I was going through the story, this is what history does to you. You'll start feeling very, very, uncomfortable when we get to know all these things, right? Conspiracy. So deep conspiracy, which, made innocent Indians fall into the traps of the Britishers. Okay? So that's how they established control over our weavers. They said, legally we have got all the rights. We will get the goods, and it is the price that we pay that you have to take. And they appointed someone called Gumasta. Okay, Gumasta is someone who is in between the Britisher and them. Gumasta is kind of a supervisor who will pay little money and kind of booking, advance for the goods. They can't sell it anywhere else the moment they get that advance. But they needed that, even that little money to procure goods, right? So, and there were places where there were a lot of fights with Gomastas initially, but yes, everything was hammered, trampled under feet with legal terms by the Britishers. So weavers were given loans. They slowly made all of them get into debts, right? So to get the raw material for their production. And yes, as I said, there were clashes between weavers and Gomastas. The price was so low, no profit. In fact, everything was under loss. Slowly, weavers started looking at moving toward, they wanted to drop doing that job. They wanted to move towards some agricultural production. They didn't want to continue weaving at all. Okay? A country which was a monopoly in textiles, this is how it got into the trap of the Britishers. And even that, they faced a problem. The problem is, Indian goods were super good in quality inside England. All right, their own people, their own merchants who were there in Britain, they faced a problem. They did not want to face that competition from the Indian goods. Now, so if you look at it, cotton piece goods, 33% of India's exports was cotton piece goods. And once these people came into picture, the Britishers, in 1850-81, hardly 40 years, not even 40, 38, 39 years, it became 33%, became just 3%, guys. It's almost nothing, right? No export. Why? Why is this gap? We will see. So number one, cotton industries. Once our technology, the entire trade secrets got into England, cotton industry started developing in England. Okay, so there were heavy import duties which were levied on Manchester, goods which were going to Manchester, right? It also reduced, since heavy duty was imposed, people will not go, right? People will not put it. So competition started reducing in Britain. They started imposing heavy duty. So British cotton was forcefully sold in India. Again, I repeat, a country which was super good in textiles, especially in cotton and silk, we had to procure British cotton. All right. Then it led to India's import, increase in the India's import. We had to take goods from them, so we have to import a lot of stuff. Then similar, so as a result of it, in Britain, their exports started increasing because we were importing. All right. 1850, cotton piece goods. Cotton piece goods was 31% of India's imports. I hope in the previous slides you remember cotton 33% was India's exports. Now in 1850, 31% of cotton piece goods were the value of India's imports. This figure became more than 50% in 1870. Upside down. Right? Look at the fluctuation and the shift in imports and exports. I hope you got it. So please remember, my dear student, from a know your dates perspective, point number one, 1750. 1750 is where East India Company started gaining political power. Before that and all, something that you have to remember is Armenia, Persia, everyone started purchasing goods from us only. India was doing superbly well, all right, especially in cotton and silk. So once in 1750 they gained political power, they started imposing monopoly through legal policies. And in 1850 to 1870, things became traumatic. In 70-80 years, everything changed upside down. We were importing Britishers' cotton. Okay, and weavers were not happy at all. Many of them had clashed with those Gomastas who were appointed as supervisors, and many of them left weaving and moved towards agricultural production also. So 1750, 1850, 60 and 70 are years to be noted here, right? Okay. So 1860, our weavers could not get good cotton, right? Enough cotton also. So somewhere cotton needs to be produced, So factories in India started production, flooding the market with machine goods. Look at the conspiracy, the way they trapped us, guys. So slowly they made someone who exported to start importing goods. Now even in that import, when they controlled the imports, we did not get enough cotton. So they said, let's set up factories here. We had to buy from them, right? So factories came into India and flooding the market with machine goods and made the survival of Indian weavers impossible. And this is one major change across the world what industrialization did. Okay, something manually which 10 people do, one machine does, and all you need is one operator for that. The same happened here. When factories came into picture, weavers couldn't really operate because they flooded, goods started getting flooded. Factories began production in India itself. So Indian weavers faced deep trouble. Okay, so what kind of factories came up? Cotton mills, of course. Where and all? Let's see quickly. 1854, first cotton mill in Bombay. Yep. 1862, 4 cotton mills. 1 cotton mill became 4. 1874, first spinning and weaving mill in Madras. 1874. So 1854, 62, there were 4 mills in Bombay. 1874, first spinning and weaving mill. All right. And 1855, jute mill in Bengal. 1855, jute mill in Bengal. And 1860s, okay, Elgin mill in Kanpur. These are some important dates and industries, that is mills, that you have to remember. Right, guys? Okay. The early entrepreneurs who were from Indian side, who were the ones aspiring to start those businesses, and what was their contribution? So British exported opium to China. Okay, late 18th century. British imported tea from China. China was one place where they were interested a lot because as you know, the print culture, the industries were developing well. So they imported tea and they exported opium. Okay, so India became junior players in this trade because by providing finance, procuring supplies and shipping consignments, we became kind of small players in this trade. Okay, Dwaraknath Tagore, Bengal. So he did the trade in China, made his fortune in the China trade, set up 6 joint stock companies in 1830s and 40s. Okay, Seth Hukum Chand and first Indian jute mill. Jute. Now we are moving towards jute in 1917. That's in Calcutta. Okay, that was also with China. Okay, Dwaraknath Tagore and Seth Hukumchand Marwari. So these 2 people, one Mukumchand in 1917 in Calcutta, again traded with China, and 1830s, 1840s, 6 stock companies traded with China, again Dwaraknath Tagore. Okay, so 2 prominent names and important years. Okay, Jamshedji. So Jamshedji, Nasarwanji, Tata. We call that Jamshedpur, right? Okay, so and again Dimsha Petit built huge industrial empires and still they exist. All of us know it. Traded with China and England. A lot of Tatas initial link was only with England. Their initial link always was with England. G.D. Birla. Okay. Some merchants from Madras, they traded with Burma, Middle East and East Africa. G.D. Birla. Right, guys? So I hope you are able to remember the names and what are those important years also. Yep. Okay. Colonial control over India. It was tightened. What was the scope for Indian merchants at that point in time? Okay. So there were multiple managing agencies, European managing agencies who were managing the trade part. So Bird Haglers, Andrew Hull, Jardine Skinner. Okay, these are companies which controlled the Indian industries. They mobilized the capital, set up joint stock companies, okay, joint ventures and managed them. So what happened? Because India is a great market, it was a big market, they very well planned. They said how we need to control this industry in India. They appointed managing agencies, the European managing agencies. These three were prominent in that, and they controlled the largest section of Indian industries. Okay, wherever they do, they create joint stock companies so that they have a grip. I hope you guys are getting it. So what is a joint stock company? Joint stock company is our guys will put in the money, but the decision will always be taken by Europeans. Alright, the agencies. And who control that? Obviously we did not have cold. Legally they have trapped us. So we couldn't do anything here. European merchant industrialists had their own chamber of commerce. Would you believe that? For our goods, our country, in our country, that the terms were dictated by the European Chamber of Commerce. They had their own, Chamber of Commerce. No Indian businessman is a part of that Chamber of Commerce. They are not allowed to join because they are not Europeans. Right? So a joint stock company is with tie-up with the European managing agencies. They dictate terms where we put the money. Right? So I want you to think on one line. Imagine what freedom has done to us now. If someone comes with that kind of a policy now, would we allow that? Because we are free now. We'll trample those ideas under feet right away, is it not? But that point in time, we were not. We were colonized. So we were kind of slaves. We just have to nod our heads for everything at that point in time. Okay, now for all these industries, for all these joint stock companies, for running this trade, the industries, where did the workers come from? Right? They came from all interior parts, Ratnagiri, Kanpur, in the Bombay, for the Bombay mills. Okay, most of these workers were peasants and artisans. Imagine they left their, lifestyles and started doing this. Due to lack of jobs, they moved into these cities. By 1946, 24,36,000 workers, peasants, artisans, were a major part of that. Okay, in 1901, alright, there were 5,84,000 workers in the Indian factories. It almost became 5x in 40 years. Right, guys? 45 years. So imagine, this is what slowly, like slow poison, they started infecting us and we got troubled. People left their day-to-day lifestyle. They started moving to cities looking out for jobs, right? For working in the cotton mills, jute mills and whatnot. This is how it all happened, guys. I hope this entire story was so heart-touching. We feel bad, right? As how our ancestors who were a part of colonized India, were troubled. Right. Okay, so getting jobs was difficult. Supply of laborers was more than demand. Right? More people were there than the kind of work. Industrialists usually employed a jobber to get new recruits. Who is a jobber? Jobber is kind of a consultant. You can put it like that. Their job is to identify and get people. Okay, and jobbers generally ask for commission in the form of either money or gifts to recruit the workers. All right. Okay. Fine, guys. So, my dear students, I hope you enjoyed the entire story, right? And you had a gist of how this, between especially 1740s till 1850s, all right, we even went till 1946, is it not? 1901, we hardly had, 5 lakh workers. 1946, we had almost 25 lakh workers in those Indian factories, is it not? So till 1946 we have taken, but mostly the action, whatever we dealt with, was between 1750 till 1860, right? Okay, my dear students, I hope you are able to grasp the happenings, whatever I explained. Ensure you go through it, revise these portions once again so that it really gets registered in your long-term memory. Right, guys, hope you liked the video. Hit on like button, and until I meet you in the next video, this is me, Sundar Rabindranath, signing off, guys. Bye bye. Once again, have a happy new year 2020.